Moving on, Councilman Bax is off tonight. Councilman Guyton.
No report.
No report. Councilman Jacoby.
At the work session, I believe it was, they brought up the new ethics code, and I asked for a copy of it, and then I went home and read it, and as one might imagine, I'm reading a lot of stuff, and I don't want to say it's completely like Greek to me, but it is pretty in-depth stuff. And I thought maybe we should do what I would do with something similar in my own household, go to an expert. And just nothing against Brian or anyone here in the town, but the Association of Towns has legal people who will review these things for us. So I submitted it to the Association of Towns. One of their attorneys is going over it. Unfortunately, she took part in the big conference in New York City, and she told me it wouldn't be until after the 26th, which unfortunately that's today, I guess. It's not for any specific reason. I just don't think that, like, I'm affected by it, so I don't want to vote on something that I'm affected by without understanding it. But more importantly, if it goes badly in either direction, I don't want them to say, oh yeah, that's why he voted it that way, because, so we'll get an outside opinion and hopefully everyone will be happy with it.
Okay, so no action. Anything else?
The St. Mary's site.
No, for Councilman.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just putting a check mark on. No, nothing else.
Okay. Councilman Morial.
Okay, we did the Parks and Recreation, so we're gonna go to the solar energy system law. We're gonna set a date tonight for the next meeting for a public meeting on it.
It's already been set, I believe.
Has it?
Yeah, I believe it's on March 12th at the time of our next meeting. That the planning board did approve it, subject to it being able to be modified further down the road, as with any local law that gets introduced. If changes need to be made, the town board can make the changes. I'll make sure it's in your hands with enough time prior to voting on a final version of the law. But for now, the planning board did provide approval of that law.
Catholic Health wanted to be notified. When, was it the public hearing?
So these are two separate things. So solar and St. Mary's
Oh, I'm
are
sorry,
two
I'm
separate
sorry.
things.
I'm moving ahead of myself.
So no action on the solar law then?
I want to point out that on the bottom, the public hearing on the solar energy law system is listed as March 8th, it's March 12th.
Yeah.
We introduced it 2 weeks ago,
Yeah, and then,
and we posted it on the
Right.
website, so people have an opportunity to review it.
yeah, I
And
think
now
this
we-
is a typo.
Now
I
we,
think that we
now
did
we
it
extend
as
to the
12.
public hearing, and if we make any changes at the public hearing, then we have to wait so many more days before it can be approved. And Brian will have that exact number of days that we would have to wait if it changes.
Okay.
I have a question on it. Did the planning board approve it as written?
Yeah, so the planning board took a look at it. They approved it as written, but their approval was subject to it being able to be modified later down the road. So,
Just because the technology is changing so quickly, I mean, very soon the solar panels, as we know now, are gonna be obsolete. Now they're doing shingles on the walls. So that's gonna be the next thing. We don't have that, I mean, the technology's not out there yet, so we really don't have anything covering that in the law. So having that open-ended, ability to change the law as things progress.
Brian, is there a clause that covers new technology?
It wouldn't be appropriate, it's just to have a clause, we need to be very specific.
yeah, you'd want to know what that new
But
technology
you'd
is.
say is, if new technology comes along, it is not automatically approved, it would have to go through the whole process.
Yeah. We can always amend it, but it would go through the process.
But because sometimes, correct me wrong, if there's nothing in your code at all, and someone comes in and presents something, they have the advantage.
Right, well, we could do a moratorium on anything other than what's covered in the law.
We could, and I think that the definition of solar energy system in the law is
Broad,
broad enough that anytime you're creating a system where solar energy is being converted into electricity or energy of any sort, it would be covered by the law that's drafted. I actually took the planning board's approval more to mean, you know, they considered it, they thought it was good, but if something else came up at the public hearing that they were, that hadn't been brought up before, or that there was a big concern by, you know, people in R1 districts, they don't want certain types in R1s, whatever it might be, that we could change the law prior to its final approval and actually becoming law, which we can do. And that's how, and I don't know if Mr. Master is on the same page, but that's how I interpreted the planning board's approval.
And if, I'll just open invitation, anybody wants to come to my home and see the solar array that I've got in my backyard. You know, it's pretty substantial. Give you a good idea of what could be.
You have a ground mounted system?
Yes.
Did there come with that?
No, but you'll have to purchase some honey.
It could.
Could get eggs, honey, or fresh chicken, that's not fish.
Yeah, there you go.
Go to Bill's house, look at it, and decide if you want it in R1 or not.
Yeah, that's the big thing. I know the town of Porter has it on their property. And they're the standard,
Ground only.
Okay.
Okay, Mount St. Mary's Hospital site plan, I think this is the one I meant to say we have to set up a public hearing, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
We have to set a date for that,
Yes.
and what would be the date?
It would be the discussions we've had with the hospital is they're expecting it to be on the 12th as well.
As well?
Yeah, so 6:15 on the 12th.
Move to have a public hearing for St. Mary's request on March 12th at 6:15.
Yes.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
And we're gonna table the electric car charging station tonight for a few more Ts and Is to be crossed and dotted, but if we want to open it up for some discussion, there's a program out now, it's a rebate program, where we would put a charging station in, and it's an 80-20 grant, where we would get 80% covered, and the town would be liable for 20%. And roughly, give me 1 second here. The charging station would cost approximately, with installation and the charging station itself, $21,634. The town would be liable for roughly a little over $4,000 to have this charging station installed. And we would be putting it in the town hall on the east side, it would be. And it's just one more step of making Lewiston green and environmentally friendly.
I called Rob today because I was concerned about where we had the charging station. If I understand people that have electric cars, they have their own charging station for their own house. But we're looking for people who are traveling into our community. And if they come into the community and the charging station is here, this is where they're going to sit for an extended period of time while they charge the car. And I don't know how long it takes to charge a car. That's something I want to check out. But they do have Hillview Restaurant to go to and Smoking Joe's. But if we could get the charging station in the center of the community, it would be, have more access to more people. And I understand there's a website that alerts all people who have electric cars where the charging stations are. So I asked Brian about whether or not we could put it someplace else, and said, well, we'd have to have an agreement to be able to say, we've leased that piece of property, that's ours. So what I'd like, Mr. Supervisor, is would you please add that to the agenda when we meet with the village to see if they have applied for the same grant. Maybe we could put the second charging station next to theirs, or another location, or at least do some dialogue about where it should be. And Marty has a question.
The whole point of that started this discussion was the town's use of the vehicles, and those vehicles would need to be parked here.
Yes.
And that would be the reason for having the charging station here, is if we eventually have electric cars. We have 2 leased cars that we lease for the town that we've talked in the past about maybe making those electric cars. But that would encourage the need for those cars to be here. where there's
Everything I've
offices.
read about electric cars, it's a judgment call as to are you being pro-environment or fiscally responsible? Because in many cases, you don't save a lot of money with an electric car, but you're doing the right thing environmentally. Does the town want to go in that direction? Maybe we can get a second charging station down the way when and if we get a electric car. And electric cars for the town are a logical step because our cars don't go that far from the charging station. They're not gonna go 150 miles, 200 miles. And if they do, we should have a traditional gas engine here to be able to take the person that far. So there's a little bit more dialogue that needs to go into these things. And I'm in favor of doing the charging station. Where's the best place at this time?
So you're not in favor of having it here at Town Hall?
It may be the only place we can put it, because we may not have any options. But if we have an option, and how soon can we get the second charging station down the way? This is the wave of the future, and we just are always talking about looking down the road. And I think we should do the charging station, but where?
Well, like I said, the Village of Lewiston can apply for the same grant if they want to have it there. There is a lot of, you need three-phase power, which we do have here. So there's a lot of pros and cons, but that's just something, I feel for a 4,000, a little over $4,000 on our end to get it in, I think that's it's a win-win for us. But,
Absolutely, especially if we go to electric down the road.
Right, it's coming. Every
Especially since
manufacturer,
it's part of the whole grant that we have to take this step. So just,
every manufacturer is coming out with more and more electric cars. And that's just, it is the future.
But the likelihood that we would go to an electric car is very slim
Right
if
now.
we don't have a charger.
Yeah.
And so we say, I've seen the figures, I saw figures today on it, the leases that are available. You save a lot of money with an electric car as a township. If we don't have a charging system, this opportunity is $4,000 for one down the road. Say, let's buy a car, and there's no grant available. Well, add $24,000 or $23,000 to the price of the car. I think this is the 11th hour, Bill. I think that finding a new place to put it might not be the
Yeah.
best idea.
well, I looked over that email that we received in regards to the different cars, how much money per month for the car, how much money they want up front, and you almost have to do a little bit more homework comparing it out. And I'm in favor of going in the direction, but if we have 6 months before we have an electric car here, can we put the station someplace else? Or it's gonna take 6 months to get the station here anyway. Everything takes much longer than we anticipate. We want it here yesterday and we don't get it until manana.
Well, my only other question is, when does the grant have to be in by? When does
I
that?
think it's last week of March.
Yeah, it's really coming up quickly, so.
Yeah. And also, just so everybody knows, and I know Rob had mentioned this to me, that there'd be no charge to the town. So somebody would come and hook up to the machine, and they would swipe a card. And the only question I had is, does the town get that money?
No. As far as the electric use, that's what I'm talking about, crossing the Ts and dotting the Is. I want to find out exactly all of those specifics.
Yeah.
So I'll be meeting with Bernie also and to go over it.
Okay, so there'll be no action taken on that tonight, thank you. Moving on to resident statements, I know nobody signed up for
I did,
speaking.
I want to say something.
Okay.
to These people.
One thing, disappointed again on the Cold War veterans exemption under pending, because I don't know what's pending, but these people, remember Cold War, I'll give them a little lesson in the back. Cold War after World War II, so they're now in their 80s and dying off every day. And there can't be too many of them in the town of Lewiston, so I don't really know what the pending is. Is it something legal that's holding it up?
It's actually 1945 through 1991. It covers the entire period of the Cold War.
Okay.
So
There can't be too many though in
any
the town
veteran
of
who
Lewiston.
served in that time period.
Pardon?
It's anyone who served during that time period, 1945 to 1991.
That's good. But they were away from home, as I said before. They were away from home. They left jobs that probably paid better than what the Cold War people paid them. The other thing we have behind us, students. They don't want to give their names out. I don't blame them, but you at least could acknowledge them. I'm sure most of them are from Lewiston Porter. The other thing is, a lot of them don't know when they should approach you to have their papers signed.
They've already been signed.
Why did they do it?
Before the meeting started, Mike Dashno, I believe, signed everybody's form.
And the
Oh, it
chair,
doesn't have to be a town board member?
You have to ask their teacher that.
Just a witness.
Just a
I'm kind of
witness.
important, maybe they can start asking me.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
I'll vouch for you. I'll vouch for you.
Mr. Train
No,
signs
I
them
just thought it
already.
had to be more official, that you people were the official town people, so that's all right.
I would say you're an official town people as well.
Well, I'm not as ruthless as I used to be.
Thank God.
And to the students, if by any chance you ever have a question, if you email it to us, and we'd be more than glad to respond.
Or ask Rosemary Warren.
New Sanborn bingo inspector.
Yeah.
$11 an hour.
Thank you, Mrs. Warren. Would anybody else like to speak? Okay, with that, upcoming boards, commission meetings, the zoning board of appeals is on March 8th at 7 p.m. Public hearing for the solar energy systems is March 12th at 6 p.m. Town board work session will be March 12th, 6 p.m. or immediately following. And also we'll have a public hearing at 6:15 p.m. at the, for St. Mary's. And then the environmental commission is March 13th at 7 p.m. Historic preservation, March 13th at 6 p.m. And planning board, March 15th at 6:30 p.m. Also, Mrs. Maggard is, along with some other members of the Historic Association, is working vigorously already on the bicentennial. If anybody would like to get involved, please see Mrs. Maggard on the bicentennial, which is in the year 2022. It'll be 200 years for the town of Lewiston. So with that, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. Thank you, everybody, for coming.